Okay, here we go. Today we are talking about logs day 8. And we start out with a whole bunch of graphs on this worksheet. And then on the back part, it is a lot of review kind of stuff. Basically, these are problems that are like word problems. And so we've already talked about those. Pretty much they give you numbers, you plug them into the equation. It's not too tough. All right, so let's talk about the graphing. Okay, so first thing I want to talk about is putting numbers into one of these little XY charts. So if we're going to get this graph, generally speaking, logs kind of look like this. Now let's go through that spot right there, unless the whole thing's been shifted or shifted or moved or whatever. But that's generally how they look. And I need to get some specific points. So I'm going to pick things for x to stick in, like 7. Except that's really not a very smart one, because log base 2 of 7 is not something I know the answer to. So I'm going to pick more strategically. So I'm going to pick, for instance, to stick in a 2. If I put a 2 right there, then I have log base 2 of 2, and that's one where I know there's a property for that. There's an answer that's really easy. And if you know this one, you know that it's the exponent on this one. So log base 2 of 2, 1. So I know that 2, 1. So I'm putting in another one for this one. Let's say I pick 0. Well, that's impossible. If I put in a 0 here, I'm breaking the rules for logs. So 0 wouldn't have any answer. I could put in a 1 for x. That'd be pretty smart, because when there's a 1 right there, log base 2 of 1 comes out to 0. Another property that if this is a 1, then the answer is always 0. And the next one I'd be looking for is something that is the fraction involving 2. Like if I make this x into a 1/2, that works really smart, because then what we really have is log base 2 of 1/2, and the 1/2 can be written as 2 to the negative 1. So now I have these two being the same, that answer is negative 1. So there's the combo of points that I can graph. Now all I got to do is graph it. That's really all there is to this part. Over 2 up 1, over 0, and it doesn't exist, so there should be an asymptote like right here. Next thing is 1, 0, over 1, up 0, it's right there, over 1/2, negative 1. And if I wanted to put in one more point, I could put in like 4 here for x. If I put in a 4 for x, gentlemen, quiet please, then this 4 can become 2 squared. And if this and this are the same, then this one is going to be the answer. So then the answer is 2. So I can put in 4 comma 2. Over 4 up 2. Here we go. So final answer, it looks like this. And the only thing I feel bad about is this sort of implies that whenever you put in a number and there's an asymptote there, there's really only one asymptote. If you'd tried other numbers like negative 1, that wouldn't have made an asymptote. It just wouldn't have worked. Because if you're over here, the graph doesn't exist over here on the other side of the asymptote. So if you just have one where you plug it in and there is no answer, it doesn't automatically mean that there's an asymptote. All right, let's go over to part B. Part B, if you think about it, is the same exact graph except moved down 2. So I can just look at all my other points, all these points on this graph, and move them down 2. So in 4 comma 2, it's 4 comma 0. Instead of let's see, this one right here, 2 comma 1, it's 2 comma negative 1. Instead of 1 comma 0, it's 1 comma negative 2. And you see what's happening? I'm making my graph, except it's all been shifted down compared to where it was last time. All right, I'll do one more with you here. I'm going to clear off these using my clear ink option. Then let's try this one with log base 3 with a negative in there. So I wouldn't try to think of this as where's log 3. It kind of looks like this, and then I got to flip it this way, and then I got to stretch it that way. You're not going to get accurate points that way. The accurate points you're going to get are probably from plugging in a number and seeing what you get. If I were to plug in, for instance, negative 1 here, then if I put in a negative 1 there, then this whole thing becomes 1. And whenever you have a 1 right there, then the whole log part right there becomes 0. And 3 times 0 is 0. So there we go. Negative 1 comma 0. There's a dot. There's another one. If I put in -3, I think it's a good one. Yep. If I put in -3, then I have a double negative on the 3, makes it 3. And then this one comes out to 1, and then it's 3 times 1, which is, so -3, comma 3. And basically, it's going to look something like that when you're all done. All right, so that's the basics of the graphing part, just plugging in numbers, and the other part is mostly doing word problems where they give you the equation and you plug in some numbers. Okay, that's all I got for a video for today. All right, I had one request for E. I'm going to go and help with E as an elephant. That's this one right here. All right, so first of all, what do I want this whole thing to come out to be? If I made that whole thing come out to 3, do you get how that would work nice? Yeah. So if I got stuff in the circle to come out to 3, that would be awesome. Well, then I got to go like this. I want -2x minus 6 to equal 3, and I got to solve this little equation. See what I mean? If I want this to equal 3, then I set it equal to 3 like an equation. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. We'll make it -2x equals 9. And then I go divide by 2, x equals 9 over -2, which is also known as -4.5. So if x is -4.5, I just figured out how to make this 3. If this is 3, then log base 3 of 3 means the answer is 1. Now, just think to yourself of another thing you'd like the stuff in the circle to be. 9's a good one. Let's make the stuff in the circle equal 9, because then that's the same as 3 squared, and the answer will be 2. All right, so how do I make that 9? -2x minus 6 has to equal 9. Add 6 to both sides. -2x equals 15. Divide by -2. X equals 15 over -2, and that makes negative, it's half of 15. 7.5. -7.5, and then it comes out to 9, and then when it comes out to 9, log base 3 of 9 is 2. There we go. Get the idea? I know that was a tough one, but log base 3 of 9 looks like this, and then that's the same as this, and therefore the answer is 2. All right. Yeah, these are definitely stretching you graphing-wise. They're not evil. You're in Algebra 2. It's a hard class. Not super hard, but it's harder than what you're used to.